Hello, thank you so much for joining us again on Conversations with Cliff. My name is David Evenden, and this is my good friend Cliff. I'm the owner and founder of Standard User Cyber and Standard User Institute, and Cliff is the president of Standard User Institute. Hey Cliff, how's it going?
Hey, it's going okay. It's good to be here with everybody who's watching today, and it's good to be here with my good friend, David Evenden.
Yeah, 100%. Man, so we have really educated you, and you probably have an associate's degree in cybersecurity at this point.
I'm not sure that's true, but I have learned a lot. I tell
Yeah,
you what, I have learned a lot. Thank you. This
that's,
has been really fun.
yeah, it is. It's been really, really fun. Yeah. So the past few weeks we kind of like recap a little bit, but we talked about so much stuff from antivirus to ransomware to targeting and phishing and all that kind of stuff, and really even to the perspective of like the dark web and what information can be found and sold on the dark web, from the perspective of like social security numbers, credit card numbers, all the different information. And so it's kind of like recycling or resetting that. Really, we'd like to talk about, well, how really do you keep that information secure? Like, how do you take, and prevent your personal information from being accessible out on the internet, and what information really is sort of vital, or what are attackers really looking for? Does that sound right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Cool. That's good. So why don't you go ahead and talk about what sort of initiated this thought process of you wanting to talk about this?
Well, our Social Security numbers have been used for decades, and they still are used to identify us to the government. And I remember as a college student that I was in a few classes where they would actually post your grades on a bulletin board, and they didn't put your name there, but I don't remember if it was my Social Security number or my student number. However, all colleges used your Social Security number to identify you, in those back in those days. And so Joseph Steinberg, in his book Cybersecurity for Dummies, and he would be the cybersecurity expert, and I would be the dummy in this case. He makes the point that now in our day they're putting all that archived information online. And so he says it's not necessarily all that hard for people to get your Social Security number. And I even here in Kansas, it wasn't that long ago that my driver's license number was my Social Security number. And that was all the way, through the 90s. And I don't remember when they changed it and gave me a new number, but it might have still been in the 90s, but it might have even been in 2000 something when they made that change. And so anyway, so my Social Security number is out there. And there's an interesting quote from Joseph Steinberg. He says, "If it is common knowledge that such information has been rendered insecure by previously unacceptable behaviors, like using your Social Security number for all these different things," he says, "why does the government still utilize Social Security numbers and treat them as if they were still private?" A provocative question.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, they have to have some way to identify us, but there's that. And so let's talk about Social Security numbers for a little bit, and then we'll talk about social media platforms as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, somebody suggested to me not so long ago that since attackers basically can get information so easily, why don't we just put all of the vital information about our home address and our phone numbers and our names and who we live with? Why don't we just put that in a book, bind it, and let's ship it to every single person in America or within our regional cities? And they used to do that. They used to put all the information into a phone book, and everybody would get a copy of it. And you would know what their address was, what their zip code was, what their phone numbers were, what their names were. I mean, all this information. You might have, interconnected sibling of, so on and so forth. I mean, just so much data, and really, we actually expose ourselves to attackers because we really like things to be convenient. Well, actually, I don't remember where Bobby lives. Why don't I just look up in the phone book and I go meet him at his house? Like, well, great. Okay, now any stalker can find, out where this person lives. And so really, there are all types of services that you can use to help you go and identify where this is at or what's happening there. And even to that same capacity, those sites that might be hosting specific types of information, they do have services built into those platforms that allow for you to contact them to say, actually, I would like my personal information removed. And
Let
you
me just interrupt here for a second. Just, talking about the phone book. I mean, I grew up in an era, in a small town where, everybody was there. And it seemed just a little bit antisocial for somebody to have an unlisted phone number.
Right. I mean, I remember that. I remember, like, even when the first series of people started to do that, and I would just think to myself, like, why are you so special that, people don't need to know where you live? Like,
Yeah.
oh, he did, he's special. Like, dude, everybody knows where you live anyways. We're a freaking town of like 10,000 people. We're just gonna drive over to your house. So, anyways, but so in that same capacity, I mean, having that option and opportunity to sort of go onto a website or go onto a platform or even submit to a phone book to say you don't want that listed. I don't want my phone number in there. Actually, I don't want my information listed at all. That's those are services that you can readily find on all kinds of platforms. Now, if your very confidential information is stolen and posted to the dark web for someone else to purchase or use, I mean, that's really, you're sort of stepping outside the boundaries of what you're able to accomplish. It's gonna be very difficult to get that information removed. What you can do, though, is you can pay services to monitor for that for you if they see something out there and any information. So what those services do often, and we've talked about this before, is they'll independently index malicious sites and take your personal information and then process through those indexes to see if anything's in there. And so if your social security number or your password or your username and password pairing, anything like that has been identified or recovered, they'll notify you, hey, it looks like that in this newest breach, your information was exposed, so on and so forth. And you can either go in and change that, or you can whatever, change other accounts that you're using those same pair of information, so on and so forth.
On that note, I mean, it's happened to me more than once in the past, 2 or 3 times, where a bank has just on their own sent me a new debit card and told me, we think your information might have been compromised. Here's a new card with a new number. Just to be safe, we're destroying that old number. Here's your new number.
Right.
And so you can do that. You can change passwords, but your social security number apparently is forever. There's no way to get issued a new one, is there?
I think there is, actually.
Oh.
I think you can get issued a new social security number.
Oh.
I don't know that for sure, but I think that I've seen that there are ways that if, for whatever reason, if you feel like it's your social security number, but if you do that, you just have to prove that you're not running from creditors and you're not trying to, you're not trying to get away from, I've done a bunch of bad stuff or whatever, that you have a clean record and your information has just been stolen.
Bad people are so annoying, what they do to your lives.
Well, sure. Yeah. So really, I mean, it's impossible, I think, to get away from specific identifiers. Like, if social security numbers are so easily available to capture, why is the U.S. government still using them? The second part of that question is the most important part of that question. why are they still pretending like they're secure? That's incredibly important. Like, and I think it's a really good question. The first part though is just like you said, they have to use specific identifiers. You know, when you
Yeah.
have 5,000 people with the same exact name, you have to be able to like identify who those individual people are. You know, how many people in the United States are named John Smith? So you have to know which John Smith am I talking to, and that's really the only way that you can do something a specific identifier like that. Now I do know that that after a certain period of time, the social security numbers are do actually get recycled, but the person has to be deceased for it's like quite a bit of time, and
Hmm.
then a social security number, you know, will go back into the cycle database and can get reissued to somebody new.
Hmm.
Um, but I think you know just doing your best to try to keep things private, keep things secure is really everything you know that you can do. Putting you know watches on credit histories and credit reports and opening new accounts and stuff like that is really probably a really an important aspect of that. One thing that that Brooke and I do is we'll choose somewhere where we've lived before or where we have a family member at that's not our space that we live. So our mailing address for our bank accounts might be our home address, but the zip code registered to our debit and credit cards might be a different state.
Hmm.
And so you can actually choose that. You can say, I want this to be in this geographical location. You know, I want my mailing address for all of my things to be this location over here, but I want my zip code and my address registered to this account to be this other address over here. And in that way, if somebody actually gets something in the mail for you and they, you know, you're calling on the phone, I need all the information associated with this. I mean, it's all on the card. You know, if you capture, you have the card and you have something from the mail, you have the zip code on there. You have everything in here. Hey, I need the number. I need the number on the back. I need the expiration date. I need the zip code associated. So 99% of the time, the zip code associated with the card is the same zip code on the mailing, and all you have to do is just have both of them be given to them. But if you actually register them and keep them separate, and then now you call in for a credit card and say, okay, I need the zip code, they're going to give the wrong zip code because they're expecting it to be this. So
Hmm.
that's one way in a credit card, depending upon how and what questions are asked when purchasing something. Sometimes they don't even ask for a zip code. They ask for the number and the expiration date and the 3-digit code on the back, and that's it. So so ensuring that you know just all those different perspectives and there's different ways you can try to secure your information. But so what's your next question on social media?
Well, I do have some questions like on social media. So let's just talk about Facebook, for example.
Sure.
I regularly, when I go to Facebook, very regularly, I get a message from them that says, my information is incomplete. Please tell us where you graduated from high school. And they'll list some places and they can guess where it is based on who I'm friends with or, you know, and so, but they don't know for sure, you know, so sometimes they'll give some other place that I've lived in the past or whatever. Um, so, but I've always hesitated filling in all that information. You know, of course, if you'd let them, they'd love to have your cell phone number and, you know, everything about you stored right there in Facebook. And I've kind of, I mean, there's an awful lot about me in Facebook, but I've resisted, you know, filling it out completely. And so
Right.
my question is, and I need to go back and check my privacy settings, and I think it's set where only my friends can see that private information. And I'm going to go back and double check on that. But if it's set with that privacy setting that only my friends can see it, are there ways that hackers can get to it?
Yes. So my suggestion, it's a strong suggestion
Okay.
that if you do have private information on a social media platform, like your home address, your cell phone number, your date of birth, any of that information, that should not be set to can be seen by friends. That should be set to can only be seen by me.
Okay.
So where you don't want anyone else to see that information. And so the reason why I would even put that information in there is in the event that you lost access to your account, some of those pieces of information are going to be your are going to be the questions that they're going to ask you to validate that the account does belong to you. So by configuring and setting those by only I can see them, it actually creates it where an attacker has to be able to log in as your account in order to be able to see them. If your friends can see that information, an attacker can log into one of your friends' accounts and then view it. So that's really sort of an attack vector there. That of course there's a second section configuration. Well, there's I guess 4 configurations: seen by you, seen by your friends, seen by your friends and friends of friends,
Yeah.
and then seen by being seen to the public.
Yeah.
So seen to friends of friends means like they're my friends and they can see it, and their friends can see it. Well, you have no idea who all of your friends are becoming friends with. They could just accept yes to every single person on the planet. You know, some of them probably don't care.
Well, the other thing is sometimes I get friend requests from people I thought I was already friends with.
That's a great point. That's so good. And what that's a phishing campaign. And what that's happening is somebody has it's automated bots, and somebody pulls an image, pulls the name, and then like 4 or 5 of the publicly exposed things can actually collect. If it's publicly available, I can see all of those person's friends. They collect all of those friends. They create an account with the same name, the same image, and then submit friend requests for everybody to the same friend information. And what they're looking for there is the ability to send you or Facebook messages, whatever it is, links, posts to your sites, things that you'll click on, that you'll go to other websites, get exploited. Now they have access to your platform. Or depending upon what the conversations look like, if somebody, hey, this person's always needy, and they go in and ask for money, and you always give them money, or they're a family member, then they might actually turn back around and ask for money, and you might actually send it to them.
So, but could there be some legitimate reasons for them requesting my friendship? Like maybe at some point they didn't like my politics or religion, so they unfriended me.
So
and they changed their mind.
Yeah.
Or they started a new Facebook account. They closed out an old one, started a new one.
So the answer to that is yes. The way that you validate that is take this person's account. I know what this person's account looks like. You keep it open. Whenever you click on the account and you go and look at it, it has a URL. The URL has the username of that user in the URL. The URL, of course, being, for anyone who might not know, the www.facebook.com/username slash whatever Facebook/username.
Okay.
That's what it'll look like. So then I would open a separate window of Facebook and I would type in your friend's name. And if your friend's thing comes up and it says friends, meaning you're already friends with that person, then you know that this second account is not a real account. Now, let's just say, for instance, they lost access to the original account and they don't know how to get to it. Well, what do you do then? Then you text that person and you ask them, did you lose access to your account and open a second account? And they say 99% of the time, they're going to say, no, somebody's created a second account. Actually, that's not what we're going to say. What they're going to say is, no, I've been hacked.
Okay.
But no, that's not true. They haven't been hacked. All of their pictures and their name and everything is publicly available to the world, and somebody just captured that information, posted a new one, and now they have another account with all the same information. That, of course, is not hacking anything. That's just creating an account with all publicly available information.
Okay.
So if that happens and someone says, I've been hacked, you are educated now, and you could just say, no. Somebody's just created another account that's just like yours. And
So in
so
other words, they were not hacked. They just handed this information freely to other people to use.
exactly right,
Okay.
which is not hacking. So, anyways, so yeah, and it's a very common thing, and people all the time. Every time I see that, it's just sort of one of those things. It's like I've been hacked, and people post that all the time, and it's so frustrating. But
Yeah.
anyways, so if somebody sent, and that's a good register. If somebody sends you a friend request, and you think you're already a friend with that person, or you thought, or that, well, I thought I was already a friend with that person. I guess not. They're part of my Rotary Club, so I'll click yes because I don't want to like lose, I want to save face. Well, don't just click yes. Validate that it's not a separate account. Validate that it is an account that belongs to them. I mean, that actually happened to my sister not so long ago, my kid sister, where she actually, for whatever, she actually lost access to her Facebook account, created a completely separate account, and then started friending me. And I was like, I'm not friending this person. I don't know who, and I was like, no, I'm not doing this. So I would like click no, and then it would like come back again. I would click no, and it would come back again. And I was just like, what the heck? So I texted my mom, I texted my sister, my other sister. I said, what's going on here? And so we started like a big Facebook message and everything, and everyone, they were all like, no, it is her. And so I was like doing my whole rundown of like asking specific questions that only my kid sister would know. And some of the conversations, of course, and then finally she texted me. She said, David, this is my account. Stop freaking dragging around. So it was perfect. I was like, okay, good. I'm glad to know it was her account and she lost access to her other one. But she should have started with texting me and saying, hey, I lost access to my account. I'm about to send you another friend request for a separate account.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, I could continue this all day. Let me just do one more item today.
Sure.
Okay. Joseph Steinberg mentioned church newsletters
Okay.
and other public newsletters where it is common practice where if somebody has a new baby, we put an announcement in our newsletter. We give the name of the new child, um, what their birth date was, occasionally what hospital they were born in, the names of the parents, once in a while, the names of the grandparents as well. So we're just handing off this information because these church newsletters, they're available online and there's no restrictions to get into most of them. I
Yeah.
mean, I did try, as I was a pastor, I would try to strip out all of that kind of personal information for the last decade or more, just not put it in there. So we'd put in something else on the online version. I mean, we would still email this private information to individual people, but we would not publish it to the web
Right.
that anybody could get that had that, that private information about individuals.
Yeah.
But
So,
that it sounds like that's something that we really everybody ought to be thinking about.
right. Yeah. And that's very true. I'd say a lot of smaller churches still do that.
Mhm.
The churches that I've gone to now for the past few years, they don't do stuff like that.
Okay.
Newer churches that have started within the last 20, 30 years,
Mhm.
most of them don't do stuff like that. And that's just, it's generally speaking because they just know that information, they may not want that information shared with everybody at the church.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that is generally bad form to push that information out because really you can expose your brand new baby to identity theft like immediately. And that does happen quite a bit where somebody will register and create a whole new account. I mean, just think about it. All they need to do is take all the information that you just gave them and create a fake birth certificate and send that in. And with that single birth certificate, you can get everything you want. You can get everything. You can get a social security number. You can get a passport. If you do it before the actual parents, you can get all the information sooner than the parents. And now you
Wow.
own that identity.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's important to be careful there.
Yes, absolutely. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Cool.
thank you
Okay.
very much.
Yeah, of course, Cliff. Thanks so much for joining me today, and hope everybody enjoyed today with Conversations with Cliff. We'll see you next time.